overcoming obstacles. We all have obstacles. We all have mountains. We all have giants we must face. And the question becomes, how can we overcome any obstacle that comes in front of us, that stands in the way between us and getting to our desired future, our success, what we determine as this would be successful, or maybe just that win? What would it look like to overcome an obstacle, that barrier in our life, in our business, in the relationship? What would that take? What would it be? I've heard the term, it's a miracle. Maybe you remember back in the 80s when the U.S. hockey team finally won against the Russian hockey team in the Olympics. They called out and screamed out, "It's a miracle." What would it take to get a miracle? What would it take to have that obstacle disappear? What would it take to be able to face those obstacles? I would like to tell you a story. This is one of those classic stories that has been passed on for several thousand years. It was about a guy named Peter. Peter had an enormous obstacle. It was tax season, and it was time for him to pay his taxes. What a horrible day, right? Especially if you don't have the money. When you don't have the money, paying your taxes becomes an enormous, huge mountain. It is one of those things that it begins to cause such stress in your life. When you can't afford, you can't do what you're being asked to do, and now there's this stress that begins to weigh in on you. You can't sleep at night. Your stomach's in knots. How do you get over it? You see, I don't know where you're at in your life right now, but here's what I know. That you are going to face obstacles. You are going to face those mountains. You are going to face those times in life when you look at the bank account and you're so frustrated, you're so upset, you can't get where you want to go, where you know you deserve to go, where you know you should be. And yet, in this moment, you can't get over the mountain. The giant's too big, so what do? Well, I'm going to give you two secrets that Peter had. And these two secrets, I feel like, can apply to my life, can apply to your life, and work right now in your business, right now in your leadership, right now with where you're at, who you are, and what you're dealing with. You see, the very first thing that, as Peter begins to be stressed out, frustrated, and he faces this obstacle, what he has to do and what he does, is so amazing. He is near somebody. He's near a possibility thinker. So this is the first thing I want you to see. The first secret is when you're facing an obstacle, when you're facing a giant, when you're facing something that you can't turn down, what you need to do is you got to get around a possibility thinker. What's a possibility thinker? When they see a problem, they say, "What problem?" "No problem." Have you ever been around somebody like that? Peter was around a guy named Jesus. And the word has it that Jesus was a possibility thinker. Matter of fact, others would call him what? A miracle worker. So when Peter comes to Jesus with this problem, here's what he says. "I don't have the money to pay my taxes." And what does Jesus reply? "No problem." So here's what I know about you, and here's what I know about me. If I'm going to get over this monumental task, this mountain, I need to change the people that I'm surrounded with. I need to change the ones I'm interacting with. Who are they? So many times we're around friends or family, many times we're around coworkers, and they're negative. And all they see is problem after problem after problem after problem. When you get around a possibility thinker, when you get around that person who sees a problem and you give them a problem, you know what they say? "No problem." So how many books will they read in order to get over the problem? As many as it takes. What do possibility thinkers do? They go and ask other people who maybe face the same situation, the same circumstances. They will learn from anybody and everybody to get to the place where they grow, they learn, and as long as it takes, as much time as it takes, as many evenings as it takes, as many conversations with other people, they will research, and they'll do whatever it takes to raise the money to get over that hurdle. So your first step to overcoming any obstacle is get around possibility thinkers. The next thing is, Jesus then gives Peter this this simple idea. He said, Peter, go fish. This is profound. And when you think about it, it's incredibly simple. Why is it simple? Because Peter was a fisherman. Now, if you gave a task to someone who didn't know how to fish or who didn't like to touch fish, then that would be a nasty, dirty task. But what Jesus does is he gives Peter this incredible gift. He says, Peter, go do what you're good at. Go do what you can do. One of the reasons maybe we don't get the ability to overcome our obstacle is because we have the talent, we have the ability, and we don't do what we can do. And instead, we sit back and complain and gripe and become so frustrated that we never take action in a new direction to be able to overcome. We don't get around the possibility thinker, and then second, we don't take the action in the areas that we know how. So the story is pretty amazing. Peter does something simple. He goes out, he begins to fish, and he catches a fish, and when he reels it in, when he brings it in through the net, however he caught it, when he brings it in, he opens the mouth, and there was enough money in the fish's mouth to pay for his taxes. Well, and also Jesus's, which is a whole nother thought. That's pretty amazing that Jesus paid taxes too. But then let's think about this. So Peter now has the ability to overcome his obstacle. It's going to come in a different way than what you're thinking. It's going to come from a different angle. It's going to come in maybe a surprising method. But here's what I know. When you're around a possibility thinker and you begin to take action on the things that you can do, you can overcome any obstacle that you're facing.